Hi guys, this is Christy Fulk with Create with Christy. I'm an independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator in the US. Well, I am so glad to be back. Last week was really rough. Still not 100%, but I'm doing so much better after what I think was food poisoning. I got pretty sick. My husband even had to stay home and take care of me a couple days. But I'm back now and I'm real excited to be able to finally do a video for these two projects. I made these for the One Stamp at a Time blog hop. I've just became a member of this blog hop. I am so privileged and humbled that I was asked to be in this group. I am so excited about being in the group. And I promised in that post that I would have a video, so here it is. And I'll be teaching you how to make this card. And our theme was blooms, so that's why I did tulips to celebrate spring. And I'm going to show you how to make this little Tic Tac holder using one of our topper punches. So if you want to stamp along with me, just look down at the blog post link below and click on that blog post link, and that will give you all the dimensions you need and the supply list. You can get everything together and come back and make it with me. Okay, let's get started. First off, we'll make the card. Okay, first off, let me show you the bundle I'm using. This is the Flowering Tulips Bundle, and this is part of my online class in April. So be on the lookout for that. It's going to become available either the end of March or the beginning of April. So this is what my online class in April is going to feature. And I love that there's some dies here that actually build tulips. So believe me, that'll be part of the class. And I'll also probably do a card again between then and now to show you how to do those also. So let me show you the stamps that you need. You need the thank you stamp, and you need all of these tulip dies here, and then the stem and both the leaves. So those are all the stamps you'll need. And at the dies, you're going to need all the ones that look like little framelits for the flowers. You're going to need both the leaves, and you're going to need the shorter, fatter stem, because this is the one that die cuts the stamped version. And those are all the dies that you're going to need. Now that's all the dies we're using in that set, that is. We've got two more sets I'm going to be using. These are the Layering Circles dies, and I'm using the number 2 die. And I'm also going to use a scallop die. And when I say number 2, I always start with number 1 as the smallest. So that was 1, so this was 2. And I'm using the number 3 scallop die. So there's the smallest, 1, 2, 3. So this is the scalloped circle die I want. And I'm using one more die set. Normally I don't use as many dies, but I really wanted to use this one here. And I'm going to be using, I put down the number 3 die again, so 1, 2, 3. This is the one I'm using. So these are all the dies that you'll need to make the cards. Okay, now it's time to get some stamping done. Let's grab a piece of basic white. This is a 6 by 3 inch piece, and we're going to stamp some those flowers on here. Let's go ahead and start off with the flowers themselves. We need the petal pink ink pad and the clips of coral. Now I'm going to show you the trick on figuring out how to layer these right. So I'm going to take the 2 large ones right now. It's kind of hard to see, but these are very close to being the same thing. The reason I figured this one out to be the darker one, see how there's some lines right here? I thought, okay, those darker ones should be probably they're kind of like the outline of the flower. So I figured that's got to be the dark one. Plus, I also looked at the images stamped in the catalog, and that helped me. I'll figure it out too. So if you see ones with some thin lines up here, that means that's the one for the dark one. And the one that's just got more of really no lines, they're just bigger, like almost like blotches to color it in. That's the one you want with your lighter color. So this will be the petal pink. Now I always start stamping with a darker color because it's a lot easier to line up later. So we'll take this one here. Stamp, hold it down for a few seconds. Then I'm going to take my petal pink and we'll line this up. And there we go. I'm at an angle, make sure I got it. Had to stand up so I could see what I was doing. There we go. So there's that flower. Now with the next one, you're going to look at this one. And then the one that's a little bigger, of the one that just looks like a middle petal type thing. These are the 2 that go together here. Let me show you the other 2 so you can see what I mean. This one, it looks more like a tulip bud. And then here's a smaller one. So if these here, you want the bigger one for this one, and the smaller one goes with this smaller one. They have them paired up in the picture too on the case of your card. So the big one is the one we want to be dark. So remember that with these last 2, it's a lot easier to figure out. You want the big one to be the dark one. So we've got that one there. Then the smaller one I'm going to do with my petal pink. And see this empty area right here? That's what we're filling in with this stamp here. So these little bumps here are going to line up with those little bumps there. And stamp. There we go. So that one's ready to go. Now we'll grab the littlest one. The bigger one is the dark color Calypso Coral. Put this one right next to it. And then this little one is going to color in that middle petal there. So we'll do this with the petal pink. Line it up there in the middle. And that's it. Once you figure out which stamps are really easy to line up. Now, once you figure it out, you're going to remember it's not hard at all. Okay, let me get those ink pads out of the way. Oh, let's go ahead and grab our square piece of basic white. This is a 2 1/4 by 2 1/4 inch piece. While we've got the Calypso Coral out, I'm going to go ahead and do my thank you circle here. So ink this up and just stamp it near the middle. It doesn't have to be perfect because we're going to die cut this out later. So now we're done with the Calypso Coral and the petal pink on the card, that is. Let's go ahead and bring this big piece back out. And now we're going to stamp our leaves and stems. So I've got my Evening Evergreen. And we'll go ahead and stamp. See, we need 3 stems for this card for all the flowers. So I'm going to do one here. Here. And another one, I think that'll work right here. There we go. And then we've got our leaves. We only need 2 leaves because I'm only going to put leaves on either side of my flower bouquet. So there we've got this one and then the larger leaf. And we'll put it about right here. So that is all the stamping we're going to do, but I do want to do one thing before we get our die cutting machine out. I'm going to grab a blender pen. You see how these have a lot of white areas in the leaves and the stems? This is a trick that you can do with any of our water-based ink pads, so all our classic ink pads. Just get the ink a little wet and it makes the ink bleed. And then you're coloring in. So it's making a lighter green. Hopefully you can see this in the video. Showing up really good in person. Sometimes the video doesn't show up so much. Let me bring it a little closer. You see how that darkened all that white area? So I'm going to hurry up and do that here. Just pull the ink, especially on this one, I'm just pulling it from the wider areas here. And try not to do too much with the detail part because I want those lines to stay intact. So there we go. And with this, I just do it just a little bit. There's not a lot of white. Well, there's a white space all across here. So we'll just color that in. And we'll do that with all of the stems. It's okay if you get it outside the lines. We're going to be die cutting these. But what I'm doing, I'm just wetting that ink, and that is making it bleed a little bit and color in those areas. Okay, we're all done with that. Go ahead and clean off your blender pen. I almost forgot something. Bring your flowers back out and get that little bitty stamp. I think I forgot to tell you to get this one out. This one does a little center. So we ink that up with our Memento ink pad. And that's going to fill in that little circle there. This is the only flower we need to do that to, but that finishes it off just perfectly. So now it's time to get your die cutting machine out. Okay, now we'll get this ready for die cutting. We're going to use platform number 1, then a die plate number 2, and a standard cutting plate number 3. Let's go ahead and grab, let's see, we've got our flowers that we can do. So we'll grab those. I've got some Post-it tape. Bring some more in here because I know I'm going to need more than what I've got on my machine. Let's grab some of those dies that'll do these flowers. Got to move mine around so I can get to them. And it just goes right around the flower. Make sure you don't see any white in that opening. Then you know you've got it in the right spot. I'm going to go ahead and do one of these stems over here. That looks pretty good. And this one I better do 2. Let me grab another one here. Since it's a long one, I don't want it going everywhere. Now, if you're wondering where I got this Post-it tape, I got it on Amazon. I'm sure you can get it at office supply stores. But it has the same kind of adhesive Post-it notes have. So it comes off the paper really easy. But you could also use washi tape if you don't have any of this, or painter's tape if you don't have washi tape. So I'm going to go ahead and do that one. Oops, I forgot to grab another piece of tape. Let's get a couple of these done. Put this down. That's actually longer than I needed, but that's all right. And let's just go ahead and do one of these leaves. Might be able to do that little one. Let's try that. Yep, that's going to work. Want to make sure it wasn't getting on one of my dies. You don't want them right up against each other because it could prevent them from cutting. So that looks pretty good. I'm going to grab another standard cutting plate and run it through. That tape just helps so the dies don't move, especially when you're doing more than one die. So lift this up, and the tape can be reused a few times, so don't throw it away right away. When they start to tear up a little bit, then you'll go ahead and throw them away. Like this one, I can tell it's starting to, but I think I'll be able to get some more use out of it. So here's our stem. Here's one of our flowers. Here's one of the leaves. We're going to have to run this through a couple more times. Since I only have one die for that stem, get this off of here. Nice and easy. There we go. And then we'll line up the last flower with its die. If I can find it here. There we go. We'll just put that right here. Let's do this stem here. Put one on either end. And then we'll do that last leaf. And then I'll do that last stem off camera so you don't have, because you know how I'm lining it up. That way the video doesn't take too long. And I think I'm going to do one more here, just that is a long leaf. Just don't want that moving on me. We'll run this through, and then you'll get to see what the other die cuts look like. So we've got the long, I love these leaves. They definitely look like tulip leaves. And then we've got, let me get the die off of here, because I'm going to need this tape to do the stem. There we go. Here's this stem. And as you can see, they're coming out of the dies really easy. Oh, that was the tape I need to throw away. So when it starts falling apart, that's when you know to throw it away. And then we'll take this off. And there's that flower. So I'll hurry up and die cut this last stem and be right back. Okay, I'm back. We got a couple more things to die cut, and then we'll do embossing. Let's grab that thank you. And we'll grab a 2 1/4 by 2 1/4 inch piece of petal pink. And let's see, I think we can get all this in. And this is a piece of the Flowering Fields Designer Series paper. I'll just say DSP from here on out. It is a 2 3/4 by 4 inch piece. Let's grab the scallop circle die. Put that on the petal pink piece. Then the regular circle is going to go right on here. And I'm going to make sure I use tape on this one. So it just fits around there. Put this on here. And I think I'm going to put some over here just to be on the safe side, because it just fits and I don't want that moving at all. I'm not worried about that one moving on me. And then we've got this one. Actually, I'm going to do this separate, and you'll understand why here in just a minute. So we'll go ahead and run this through real quick. Get these out of the way. I love these little scallop circles. And then this will just pop right out. And I'm not going to worry about the tape right now because I'm done with the tape. This one, the reason I want to do it separate is because with rectangles, it die cuts a lot better if you can tilt it and have the corner go in through the machine first. It helps protect your dies. I think it cuts better. And you also don't get that crunching sound as much. See, that makes it a lot easier on your machine too. When you put a flat space, long space like that, sometimes it'll crunch more. It'll kind of pop the die, and it just goes a lot better if you go with a corner. So we've got all the die cutting done, but we're going to do some embossing. So to get this ready for embossing, all I want is my platform number 1. I'm going to be using a 3D folder. So I don't need those other 3 plates I just took off. This is a 4 by 5 1/4 inch piece of Pear Pizzazz cardstock. And this is the Hive embossing folder. And I love how we've got this line that goes across the bottom here. I'm going to angle it to me so I can see what I'm doing. Lined up the bottom edge of my cardstock. Close this up. Oh, it looks like it moved on me a little bit. Nope, that looks good. Lay this down. You always want to put it in fold first. It helps with your folder so it doesn't get hurt. And then the specialty plate that also comes with our die cutting machine goes right on top. That's the correct sandwich for 3D, because they're a little thicker than our regular embossing folder, so you don't need as many plates. You open this up and you get this really neat hive. I love this hive. You can use either side, and this was the side I decided to use. So we're all done with our die cutting machine, so we'll get this out of the way and finish the card. Okay, now I'm going to bring in the card base. This is a 5.5 by 8.5 piece of petal pink. We're going to line those corners up. That ensures you to get this folded right in half doing the corners. Don't worry about your edges, just make sure you line up those corners. Take my bone folder and get that nice crease. Now we'll grab the big piece we just got done embossing. This is the Hive. And then I'm going to grab a piece of the Flowering Fields DSP. This is a 1.5 by 5.25. I love the tulips on this. Grab my seal here. I always put some right across the top when they're narrow like that, and then a few little ones here on the long edge. And I'm going to put this right along the left edge of this piece. Now I'm going to line up the top edge and this long side edge. Okay. Now, when I emboss this, a lot of times it ends up getting shrunk. It shrinks up a little bit, so I could tell there's some paper was going to be on here. So lining up this top end made it so I only have to cut off the bottom end. So you just turn this over and cut off that edge that's hanging over. Just cut right along the cardstock. Oops, I moved a little bit. There we go. Real easy to fix. And we're going to put some ribbon around this. So grab a 7-inch piece of the Evening Evergreen Windowpane check ribbon. Love this ribbon. And this is all in the suite. This is actually called the Flowering Fields suite. There is another bundle with it. But this time I'm not using that windmill. I'm just using the flowering tulips. So I'm going to go ahead. Sometimes I use glue dots. Sometimes I use seal. Let me show you how I use the seal. I'm going to hold this right where it needs to be. It's probably going to move on me, but that's okay. And I'm going to put some strips right here. I'm going to make them a little wider in case it did move on me. I could tell this one on my left side did. That way I've got enough adhesive there for it to catch. So turn it back over, get it where you want it, and wrap it around. And those ends should attach, yep, no problem, to the adhesive I have on the back. Now that we've got the ribbon on there, we can put this on the card base. And I'm going to make sure I put some across, probably across this whole thing here. I found when it embosses a lot, sometimes it buckles a little bit. So I use a little more adhesive than I normally do, just so those don't pop up on me. Make sure this is on the left side and your flowers are going the right way. If they're upside down, it is totally okay to have it on this side. No big deal. We're going to put this here. So hold this down. And the nice thing about the seal, if I did have this upside down, I could peel it off the first 10 minutes carefully and then turn it around, put it back on again. It becomes permanent after that. Now we'll go ahead and grab this rectangle that we just did. You could use this side too, but I thought that was too many tulips, so that's why I used the other side. Thought it might get a little too busy. And we're going to angle it a little bit like this and put it towards the left side a little more than the right. I'm not putting it right in the middle. I just like that little accent on there. And I thought it helped separate the tulips we're going to put on here with this paper here. Let's go ahead and grab, speaking of tulips, we'll grab all of those tulips that we die cut and our leaves. See if I can get these out. They're kind of mixed up with my dies here. Should be, oh, there's the other stem. I saw the other flower, but didn't see my other stem there for a second. Okay, now I'm going to be laying these down just so I have an idea where I want them. So I was putting the larger ones on the outside, and then the little one is kind of be in the middle, overlapping them just a little bit, like so. And that gives me an idea where I want my stems to go. Now you can use glue with these stems, or what I did, I just going to put a glue dot on each end, and it works just fine. But if you would rather use the glue, you can do that too, because that makes it to where while it's still wet, you can move it just a little bit. Once it dries, though, it's stuck forever. Put this on here. I like to show you different ways of using adhesive, so I'm going to use the glue dots this time. Okay, I know this one's going to go right here, so I'm going to move this one out of the way. Now I've got it where I want it. And lay this one down. And I think I'm going to go ahead and put that flower down, since I know I've got the stem where I want it. And we're going to just use regular seal. I'm not going to pop this one up. I will pop up that middle one. But this one's going to go like so. Let's just get this stem ready. So that way the flowers don't move on me. Put a glue dot on each end again. Oops, so I can get a hold of it. There we go. Now this one, I want to go the other direction. This is a neat thing about the stem. It has that curve, and you just turn it whichever way you want it to curve. Well, this time I'm going to have this one kind of go out the opposite of this one. So we'll put these down again, just an idea. I'm not going to fret if they move. Bouquets are never perfect. I'm going to kind of put it right here. That looks good. Make sure I get the flower out of the way because I don't want the flower. There we go, get covered up yet, because this is going to go over that. So I'll put adhesive on this again. And put it right here. Now that those are on, this is going to be a lot easier to line up because we don't have to worry about these moving around. So I'm going to lay this one down. Let's put some glue dots on here again. Just like so. Okay. And then we're going to go ahead and put this down. Okay, that looks pretty good. Get some adhesive on this one. No, I take that back. We're going to put dimensionals on that one. I almost forgot. So I'm going to grab, let's do a couple of these half ones on here because I don't want it to wobble on me. So we'll do a half one here. So you're usually only using a full dimensional. So if you don't have any edges, you can just cut one of those in half. I just wanted to have something on each side so it doesn't wobble on me. Then let's take the paper backing. Oops. Paper backing off. And we will put this right here in the middle. And I want it to be a little shorter, so I brought it down a little bit. Just make sure you don't have your stem showing up here, of course. Now we're ready for the leaf. Now I am not worried that this is going to look kind of funny. Actually, I want the bigger one up here. Since it's near the big flower, we'll put the smaller one over here. And I kind of liked the look of the hump right here being on the inside. Now, yes, this looks a little funny, but we're going to take care of that with a ribbon. So that's how that's going to go on. So we'll just grab some seal. Put it right across here. That looks pretty good. Do the same thing with this one. I'm mainly putting it on the fatter part of the leaf. That looks pretty good. Actually, that does not look too bad. So if you didn't want to put a ribbon there, you definitely don't have to. So but I'm going to go ahead and grab a 5-inch piece of the ribbon. And we're just going to tie it in a single knot. You can do a double if you want to, but there's no reason to. And this helps the knot look a little better if you only use a single knot. It doesn't get all bunched up. And you can kind of separate it a little bit if you need to. I can tell I kind of bunched mine up a little bit. Play around with it till it looks pretty good. I'm going to grab another glue dot and put it on the back of the knot. And then we are going to cover up where those leaves are, okay? And angle it like this. And then we'll go ahead and take our scissors and cut these at an angle. Might trim it down a little bit more here. Let me get this one a little shorter. Right after I did that, I could tell, oh, that needs to be just a teeny bit shorter. Okay, now we're going to grab our circle. And this just fits. I only wanted a little bit of pink to show. The next scallop was just too big, so I'm just going to have a little bit of that pink showing. Go ahead and get that on there. Just put it right in the center. Close as you can, that is. And then we're going to put some dimensionals on here. And with circles, I use 3. I put 2, kind of make like a triangle. That supports it really well. We'll get that paper backing off. And we'll put this down here in the bottom corner. There we go. That looks pretty good. Oh, actually, it's a little lower than I want it. Let me grab these. Really easy. Thankfully, I didn't push it down too hard. There, that looks better. There we go. So we have got this card done. So I hope you enjoyed the card. Now get ready to make that little Tic Tac holder. Okay, there's no need for me to show you what stamps and everything because you should have the ones that you need out. But we are going to be using one extra thing. This one is called the Delightful Tag Topper Punch. Let me get it angled so you can see it better. There we go. have to get in the light just right. So that's what this one looks like. This is in the annual catalog. But let's go ahead and get some stamping done first. So I want you to grab a piece of basic white. This one is I have to look at my right list here, a 4 1/4 by 1 1/2. And this is what we're going to do the flower. We're only doing one flower, and I decided to use the medium-sized flower. So we're going to want to grab this one and this one. So the one that looks like a single petal, get the larger of those two, and then the middle-sized flower. And we want to grab that Calypso Coral and Petal Pink again. The big one is the dark. So we're going to stamp that. Always want to stamp the dark first. It's so much easier when you go to put the second layer on, you can see through the light color to stamp that. If you do the lighter color first and have dark ink on your second stamp, it is so hard to line up. It's hard to see. So we are going to put this right here and stamp it right. Oops, flying everywhere. There we go. So we've got the tulip done. Now we want to stamp one stem and one leaf. And I'm going to use the smaller leaf since our packaging is kind of small. So here's the small leaf and here's the stem. So this is the Evening Evergreen. So as you can see, I'm using the same stamps and I'm using the same colors because we want them to match with that card. This is a nice little, if you want to give somebody a nice little thank you gift, these will go right together. You make them the card and give them some Tic Tacs or something that'll fit in. It's about the same size as a Tic Tac box will work too. Now, once again, I want to color in the inside of that leaf. So I'm grabbing my blender pen and pulling that green ink from the big areas and get that middle section green. And then we'll do the same with the stem. Get that nice long white line green and the ends. Always make sure I don't have any ink, so my blender pen's clean for the next time I want to use it. So that is all we need here. I want you to grab a square piece, a 2 1/4 by 2 1/4 inch piece of the basic white. We're going to grab that thank you stamp again in our Calypso Coral. And we'll just stamp this near the middle again. Oops, ink it up a little better. Okay. And that is all the stamping we're going to do. So go ahead and get your die cutting machine out. Okay, I've got this set up for die cutting again. So it's the base plate, die plate number 2, and the standard cutting plate. Let's grab the flower, and our thank you. Grab the same circle die that we used on the card. Let's get it right around there. Put some tape down so it doesn't move. Then we want to do our flower. So we'll put this one down like so. And my plate is starting to warp on me. There we go. I think we put another little piece right here so it doesn't move on me. Let's grab the stem, get it going the right direction. And I'll lay this down here. Put a piece of tape on this end and a piece here. And then our leaf. Looks like we're going to have just enough room. I know these are close, but my dies are not overlapping. They're next to each other, so it's going to be able to die cut with no problem. I'm going to put this one right in the middle. I think that'll hold that one. So we'll grab another standard cutting plate, put on top, and we'll run all these through. We'll get our thank you out here. So you don't have to wait. I'm not going to worry about the tape, but there's my leaf. Let's kind of poke these out of here. There we go. There's the flower. And we'll get that stem out. Then I'm going to have to take the tape off for the stem because though I can get a hold of my finger. There we go. There's our stem. So we are all done with the die cutting machine. Let's finish this little Tic Tac container. Okay, first off, I want you to get a scoring tool out. I'm going to use my paper trimmer. I'm going to make sure the dark blade, which is the cutting blade, is out of the way. Here's my scoring one. I'm going to grab a piece of Petal Pink. This is 8 1/2 by 2. And we're going to put this in, and we're going to score it at 4 inches on each side. So I'm going to line this up at the 4-inch mark, score it a few times, turn it completely around, and score it on the other end at 4 inches. And that's all the scoring we need to do. Okay, now that the scoring is done, we're going to bring in the Delightful Tag Topper Punch. And it is very important to do the scoring before you punch, okay? Makes it a lot easier lining it up. Just stick this in all the way. 2 inches is the widest that you can do on this tag punch. And it kind of goes down a little bit. That's okay, that's what it's supposed to do. And sometimes I will even turn it over and make sure I've got it all the way, and that looks fine. See how it's flat up against that metal piece. So I'm going to punch it. Turn it around and do the same thing here. Once again, I want to make sure, yep, it's all the way in. I can see that's nice and flat right there. Get those little pieces out of the way. Punch. And now we've got that. And we'll go ahead and decorate this. So I want you to grab 2 pieces of pear pizzazz. This is, they're 2 by 1 3/4. And then 2 pieces of that tulip paper again from the Flowering Fields DSP. They're both 2 inches by 1 1/2. And we're going to set those right on there, right across. So grab some seal. Oops, get this going again. There we go. I'm just going to put it on 2 ends because it's not very long of a piece. Line this up here and get it right across the middle. Okay. Do the same thing with the other piece. Now, the way this paper is, you're going to have 2 totally different colors of tulips, which is fine. You just pick which one you want to be your front. So I'm going to lay this right here. I think I'm going to do the opposite. Well, they're actually totally different from mine, so never mind. I used the lighter ones on the front with my first one because of there being so much calypso on this one. So I think that's what I'm going to do here. I think I'm going to make this one be my front. So it doesn't matter which side right now. Well, I'll take that back. This is going to fold up like this, okay? You want to make sure your tulips are going the right direction, okay? So that's what this is going to do here. So let's go ahead, get some adhesive on here, go across these. And I think I'm going to put a little bit more here just because I don't want it falling off my tag here. And I am centering from this score line here, from here to the little curve here. So make it kind of in the middle. That looks pretty good. Makes it easier when you're doing this side. Now, so every time you want the top of the tulips to be facing the end, okay? So this one is going to go this direction, okay? So once again, put this on here. Make sure I've got it going all the way across. Make sure the tops of my tulips are pointing towards the end of the tag. Get it centered right here. That looks pretty good. I'm going to pop it up just a little bit higher again, and then I'm going to push it down. Okay, now decide, like I said, which one you want to have your flower on. Since this already has a lot of clips on it, I would just want a little more color, so I'm going to have this be my front. So we've got the flower here, and we want to grab our leaf and our stem. Once again, we're going to put glue dots with this. So let me get a hold of this. We're going to get these little papers out of the way here. I'm almost finished with this pack of glue dots. So we're going to put this right here, each on one end. Like I said to you, you can also use multi-purpose glue. I wouldn't use seal just because it is so narrow. But if you do, you can definitely you can use that. But then you'd have to make sure you don't have any on the edges here. Now, I'm going to lay this, I want it to curve this way. And I know I want my flower, to be down here a little bit. And it's okay if you want it to go over a little bit also, but I decided to have it be like this. That's angled pretty good, so move the flower out of the way and put the stem down. And then I'm going to put the leaf right here. Once again, I want that little curve to be towards the inside of the flower. So put this across here. And we'll angle it like this. And I'm having it cover up that stem a little bit. It looks fine that way. So if I don't get my thank you on there just right and you still see this, it's not going to look unfinished. And I want this to be popped up with dimensionals again. So since I'm well, here I can use the border on this one. We'll do this, get a couple of these cut. Because once again, I'm going to put half of one on each side so it doesn't wobble on me. Don't need 2 full ones. That should be plenty. Get the paper backing off. And put my flower right where I want it. There we go. That's the neat thing about the stems. You just go down as far as you need to, just as long as you don't see the stem sticking out here. And then we're going to grab that thank you circle. This time, since there's so much petal pink, I decided not to put the scallop circle on it. And we're going to go ahead and pop this on with dimensionals again. So it's a circle, so I'm going to do the 3. So we don't have it wobbling. Paper backing off. And I'm going to kind of go over here to where I am covering up that leaf a little bit, so I don't have to worry about it being perfect. And there's the thank you. And that is the base of your Tic Tac thing. So I'm going to take the Tic Tac out of mine. Disregard the candy canes. I didn't have time to get new Tic Tacs, so this is some I had on hand from Christmas. So I'm going to grab a piece of the Evening Evergreen Windowpane. This is a 5-inch piece again. Now, if you want to keep this, if you're worried about it falling out, you can always put a little bit of adhesive on here. Now, this is a little narrower than the Tic Tac box, but I wasn't going to fret over doing like a 1/16 of an inch. Those are crazy. That's going to actually hold it in a little tighter. And then you can take your ribbon here and thread it through. But I'm going to go ahead, just for the sake of the video, I'm going to put some adhesive across here. Stick this in where I want it. There, that way it's not going to move on me. See, it's holding on a lot better, but it's going to be easy for the person who gets it to take it out of their container without tearing it up. So we'll go ahead and put this on, because with this being slippery, it's going to come right off, no problem. So thread this through, and I'm going to just tie it in a single knot. You can do a double knot if you're worried about it coming apart, but I found out the double knot did just fine. There we go. And then I'm going to cut those ends at an angle. And see how quick and easy you can make those Tic Tac things. It doesn't take long at all. I love our tag topper punch. We've got another one if you want a different design. I like the one that had a few more little frills on it. So let's go ahead and I'm going to grab the other card. So I hope you enjoyed today's video, and I hope you enjoyed the blog hop. And if you missed the blog hop, click on that blog post link below and then scroll near the bottom of the post, and you'll see all the other links to the other people in the blog hop. And there'll be some more beautiful cards with blooms. There are a lot of really talented ladies in this group. Well, I hope you enjoyed stamping with me again. And if you'd like to stamp with me again, just subscribe to my YouTube channel by clicking that subscribe button below, and a little bell icon will pop up. Make sure you click on that and then select all. That way YouTube will notify you every time I upload a video. And if you live in the United States and do not have a demonstrator of your own, I would love to be yours. And I'd love to send out these 2 catalogs to you. These are 2 that are going on right now. This one is only good through the end of April. This is the annual catalog. And this one's good through the end of June, the January to June mini catalog. Just click on that contact me link below and send me your mailing address, and I'll get these mailed out to you right away. Let me show you the projects one more time. Again, thank you so much for stamping along with me, and please support my channel by giving me a thumbs up or commenting below. I really do appreciate it. See you in the next video, guys. Bye.